All right, I was having a little conversation over the break. Somebody was offended that I said I want Mexicans to leave the USA. Here's the thing. I want everyone who is here illegally or brought in on refugee status to leave. I will not apologize for that. I make absolutely no apologies, and I would invite you to learn a little bit better the socioeconomic the dynamics that are involved, because those people are hurting us. This isn't a personal attack against those people. Quite frankly, I don't know them. It wouldn't make any sense for me to say, well, I hate, Mexicans, or I hate some. I don't know these people, I don't know them to hate them. They are here hurting us, and it's not sustainable. If you're here illegally or on refugee status, I absolutely want you to go home. I want us to be able to get our country back, and then we'll be able to, instead of hurting the rest of the world, sending our military everywhere to blow everyone up, we can actually help folks, which is more along the will and the lines of the American people. That would represent us better. So if that offends you, then I would suggest this as well. Not just researching the socioeconomic dynamic of it, but I would also look into the reason for sovereignty. The reason anybody has sovereignty. Is that just an imaginary line? Because if that's the case, I say this to everybody who believes, we shouldn't have borders. You know what? Theoretically, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. I think that's a great idea. Just as soon as every single human evolves to Christ consciousness, all is one. As soon as we evolve together, yes, we can get rid of borders and we can do all kinds of incredible things. But until then, why do we have sovereign borders? What purpose do they have? And if, people can be anywhere, why are they here? If borders don't mean anything, what are they doing here? They could be anywhere. Go somewhere else. You're hurting us. So that's the premise. You're either here illegally or the ruling class brought you in on refugee status, and that's going to hurt us. That's not sustainable for any country on earth. It doesn't matter what country you talk to. They're going to tell you that, no, that's not sustainable for anybody. Even the great superpower America, that's not sustainable for anyone. So, of course I want them gone. But it's not out of hatred. It's so that we can get our country back, we clean up our own house, then, instead of hurting the world, we can actually go and help. It's not as if we don't have the resources, the capability, and the know-how to do that. We absolutely could. And we could stop doing what we're doing. We could stop sending military. I'm sick and tired of old white guys telling us, who we have to bomb and why we have to kill them and why we should hate them and they're our enemy. It's tired. It's a tired argument, I say we all get our own houses in order, and America is the driving force for a lot on this planet. So once we do it, then we can help affect positive change throughout the rest of the world. So I hope that's less offensive. I do mean to offend people, don't get me wrong, but I don't want you to, and I even talked about, oh, he's a xenophobe, he wants to get rid of Mexicans. You're insane, and you have to stop it. That's the only thing that's going to make sense, is for you to start to think for yourself and realize that it's insanity to put people in a box like that, because they disagree with you, because they don't buy into the political correctness. No, I don't. We have sovereign borders that people fought and died for a reason. March 6th, the Alamo. Look into the history of that. Look into what happened and why it fell. And they said, remember it. Look into that. We have borders for a reason. They were established by good men for a reason. I don't know if you know this, but we actually owned all of Mexico at one point in time. And we gave half of it back. Kept the other half to settle financial debt. Now, I'm not going to sit here and get into was that right, was that wrong. I can tell you that that's old dead man's baggage, and let's deal with what we have now. We do have a border. It does need to be sovereign. It needs to be protected, and it's not an anti-Mexican stance. It's actually a pro-Mexican stance and a pro-human stance. There is no way we're going to be able to help Mexico if we do not and cannot help ourselves. Think about it on its merits. And we would have no right impugning somebody else's judgment if we had the same ruling class with the same boot on our necks. Of course we have to clean up our own house. The Mexicans that are fourth generation and here legally, I freaking love those guys. You know? They're American, dude. And you know they are. They're just like us. They're just like everybody else, man. They go to work, they come home, they eat dinner, everybody's chilling. You know what I mean? They are as American as apple freaking pie, man. They get it. They assimilated. They understand. Now you have Mexicans coming up that are saying, this isn't America, this is Mexico. Are you honestly going to stand on their side and then call me some kind of a name like I'm some kind of a bigot? Educate yourself. Read a book. It won't kill you. Every time you talk about a Kardashian's butt, a book commits suicide. Stop it. You are hurting all of us. Read a book. There's no sense in people believing that way. It doesn't follow along any lines of logic. You know, if you actually want to help, then get your sovereignty back. How do you think you're going to get your sovereignty back, bro? What do you think is going to happen? Do you think revolution isn't messy? Do you think it's going to be clean? Look at what the founding fathers of your country went through. People died. They were killed. And they were also labeled as terrorists by the crown. Terrorists. Come on. You're going to have to start dealing in reality. You're going to have to start dealing in the present day reality, as uncomfortable as it is. You know? It doesn't make any sense to say, sure, I can get my country back while the borders are wide open and there's like millions of people coming up here saying this is no longer America, this is Mexico. I mean, what are you doing? Do you even like this country? Do you understand what this country is about? Do you understand the fundamental principles? Do you get how it is that you got to be so prosperous today with your Xbox and everything? Do you understand? We have to fight for this. And it's going to piss people off. It's going to make people mad. And so be it. It's going to make the same people mad that we fight for them. They won't get it until either A, we get our country back, or B, they watch us fall. Those are the only two things I see happening, because there isn't going to be stagnation. You're seeing a lot of activity in this nation. You know? And personally, you should know that I love Spanish culture. I've been to South America. I freaking love it. You know? That's why I want to get it back to good. You freaking Nimrods. That's why and I understand that if we have a border that's south of us and they're in a bunch of disarray, that is going to affect us. I would rather us just get our country back and then go and help our neighbors out. You know, because that'll affect us. That will come back and hurt us. So let's get ourselves squared away, and then let's help them out in a way that makes sense, in a way that's not a violation, not the way we've been doing it in the past with the ruling class, No. That's not very helpful, actually. So, I know that's hot button. I know there's a lot of people that don't understand, and they're real quick to jump on that PC bandwagon. Wait a minute, did he just leave an open area where I can call him a bigot? Well, because I'm completely incapable of formulating my own intellectual argument, I'm jumping on bigot. Well, congratulations. Well done. Now you have become an example of what I speak about frequently. You are the description and the example of the people who have refused to think for themselves. Yes, it's offensive to some people, but that's only because of their lack of thought. You have been able to show us your incredible lack of, and now what we're waiting for is for you to contribute. Step away from your own ego. Step away from your own pride. There is no one as interested in it as you. There never will be. So join us. Be with us. Stand with your country and your countrymen and women. We need you. You can go ahead and be divided if you wish. but you will stand alone in that endeavor. So I spoke about, before I went on break, many have protested before us. What makes us any different? I hope you thought about that. I hope you let it roll around in your noodle there for a minute. I do have an answer. The answer is simple. It's time. Time. Who else believes that it could be part of a natural evolution that when we watched the draft resistance revolution happen, be it vicariously, we were born in the late 70s and didn't take any part in that, and we're really born on the cusp of our fathers having perms, which was weird, and didn't really understand that, but we knew and understood that, there was this thing called a hippie movement. And naturally, a lot of us were drawn to that, We understood further what it ended up really being about. It was an anti-war stance. It was a stance for peace. Now, what a lot of you don't know is that generation has 3,000 more words on average in their vocabulary than my generation does. Now think about that. What is vernacular? What is vocabulary? What is that? It's not just our emotions and how we think. That ends up precipitating the kind of actions that we take as well. If we only know certain words that are connotative to aggressive violence, then we're going to think along those lines and we're going to act along those lines. Well, 3,000 more words in their vocabulary tells you that these were people with a higher level of education, to say the very least. That's my theory as to why they came together peacefully. They understood the value of being able to affect change within the Constitution, within the bounds and the premise of our laws, and they tried in a meditation circle with the yoga to levitate the Pentagon. You may not know that if you're a younger person. They actually held hands, sat around the Pentagon, and tried to lift it up. That's awesome. That's peaceful right there. Now, you have my generation that comes along. We have an average of 3,000 less words in our vocabulary, which really speaks to a larger effect that says this isn't just a lack of education. That lack of education is a signifier of a general lack of. There's a lack of culture, a lack of tradition, a lack of general knowledge, which translates into people that are much more dangerous, people that are much more prone and apt to violence. They use that as an effective means to change things around them. We watch a bunch of hippies and it didn't work. Did you think? Ruling class? Did you think, cynical voices, that spirit of freedom that was residing in our fathers and mothers would die with them? Of course not. It's not even the way that the human nature works. Of course we were going to start to rise, and of course we're going to organize in different ways. What makes us different today is that time has called on our generation to see fit that we preserve a better life for the future. It was an ideal then. It's becoming an action now. Now, I understand that the country was much more violent in the 60s with the civil rights movement as well. I would not have enjoyed living in this country at that time. I wouldn't. Very violent, very unstable. I'm glad I didn't have to see those days. But now you have a much more violent generation, and then the generations beneath us that, don't even have the shabby education that I was given. It's even worse. And what do you expect? What do you think is going to happen? Of course people are going to revolt, and of course they're going to use violent means to do it. That makes sense to me. That absolutely makes sense to me. So I don't know. Maybe time called on us because we're capable. Maybe time called on us and it's up to us as to what we do. We can choose to do nothing, but time has called. It's not just my belief. Check out the interweb. I'm not the only one. And also, why are we taking guns from vets? You know they're the most highly trained. Think about it like this. If you do have an enemy in this country and they sit in the ruling class, they, for absolutely damn sure, would not want you to be able to defend yourself. That's pretty simple. You have the same ruling class that are passing all of these laws, resolutions, executive orders, Senate House bills that are all just hell-bent on taking each and every single one of your rights you thought you had, which ended up being no more than a temporary list of privileges. Thank you, Mr. Carlin. And they end up making unjust laws unconstitutional laws. They're taking guns away from everybody. They're making everyone a criminal. 1/4 of the planet's population that is incarcerated in the United States of America, people. Your land of the free locks up more people than the total populations of other countries combined. That's just the people we have in prison. How much longer do you think that is sustainable? How much longer do you believe the American citizens are going to allow their sons, daughters, nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles, mothers, and fathers to be locked up on crazy charges? You know, the criminal IRS comes in and says, you know, they've been seizing people's property so that the people don't have any way to get a lawyer to defend themselves through the forfeiture laws. It's straight criminal. They take businesses, they take homes, boats, cars, everything. They took so much stuff from people under the federal forfeiture laws under Bill Clinton that by the end of their fiscal year, they had to auction off farm equipment and everything else that they had seized. Had to auction it off because they couldn't even store it. They're robbing us. They're your enemy. They are your outspoken enemy. And they continue to act like it. Of course they don't want you to have guns. Of course they're going to lock all of us up for whatever crime they can to label all of us criminals. That way, you know, we can't defend ourselves. They want your guns. It's one of the ways that we are unique in the world. One of the many. You don't know how unique your land is, and that's why you've lost it. Take away the guns from the veterans, knowing they're the most highly trained on planet Earth. We even say we're the most highly trained army on planet Earth. We know this. And yet, we take away your gun rights. Now you're a civilian, we take away your gun rights. What do you think that is? You think your own country would do that to you, honestly? You think they'd lock us up at this rate, honestly? Or do you think maybe there's an agenda afoot and has been for a long damn time? Who here believes the official story of 9/11? Anybody? Does anybody believe that anymore? Have you seen the interviews with the people who were the ones that invented our defense system? We even have stories about there was a plane that was going down, and we were able to get a jet on its wing side in like 10 minutes, because that's the way our defense system was set up. Well, on September 11th, we were doing drills, running drills, and it prevented us. Bullshit. That's a lie. It's a lie. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows that was an inside job. Nobody likes to believe that, though, because it breaks your heart on the mere implication that your own ruling class would or could even think about doing that to you. Isle of Tonkin. Look these things up. They've been doing false flags for a long time. Does it sound like a crazy conspiracy theory? Does it sound like some nut job that, was on the internet for 45 minutes and then decided that everything he saw was gospel? Is that what it sounds like? Because you can look it all up for yourself. You should never subject your judgment for mine or anyone else's. That wouldn't make any sense, and you're not going to be any good to anyone. Discern it for yourself. Get back with me with your amazement and surprise at what you found. I think maybe I've had a conversation or two like that. Sovereign citizens in the U.S. are considered terrorists. Patriot groups have been monitored by the CIA in the U.S. I don't know if you understand the function of the Central Intelligence Agency, but that's not it. You're not supposed to be doing any clandestine operations in the U.S. at all. Completely illegal, and they should have been disbanded immediately. We get our country back, and they will be. But we'll lose our intelligence capability. Really? Is that what you think would happen? We have so many patriots ready to bring this country back. They're just waiting for you to realize your strength and realize how bad you're getting screwed. They're waiting. They're waiting. And they're good people. They're police officers. They're soldiers. They're federal officers. Their families are under the same rule that you and I are. Except they're the ones that have to follow the unjust laws. And who knows what ramifications they could suffer. I don't know how that stuff goes in the federal world, but, I can imagine that there could be some fallout if you tried to disobey an unjust law on the federal level, I imagine people like the congressman in New York that was found dead in the, at the landfill. And it barely made more than a column-sized article. The bankers that have all, and in air quotes, killed themselves. I don't believe that, do you? I mean, first of all, I don't believe anything I'm told through mass media. They have no interest in telling me the truth. So I'd have no interest in believing any of their crap. And I like myself enough to not believe the BS that they spew. So, when they tell me, whatever it is they tell me, I always, the way I watch the news, the perspective that I watch the news from, is I have to know what my enemy is up to. I have to be wise and know what my enemy is doing. So, I think that's wise. I think that's smart. But other than that, I don't, I'm not watching the news so I can get caught up on the news. And I'm talking about national news. The Fourth Estate, this is another thing people don't like to hear. The Fourth Estate has become completely corrupt. It is all state-run media. All of it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're guilty of creating fear and helping legislators. Did you guys freak out about Ebola? Did you guys notice how much the coverage dropped after the elections? Do you think that's coincidence? Am I the only one that noticed these things? Of course not, I'm a moron here in Ohio. Of course other people noticed it. Maybe it was you. We don't have to look too far to see how far we've been thrown under the bus by our ruling class. They are our outspoken enemy. I have no problem saying it. I have no problems telling all of you that I want every illegal and everybody on refugee status out of my country. Not because I hate them, but because I really honestly think we can do this. I think that we can get our country back. I think we can oust the ruling class. And honestly, that let's say they, Obama and Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi all run over to the freaking helicopter that gets them to the private jet that gets them to some country that's, harboring them because we took over and we've got Capitol Hill and, we got all the numbers and we're standing there and we got our constitutional sheriffs and we're replacing people. We're replacing positions, and and we're doing it like civilized folks, and not by the end of the barrel of a gun, and these people run and they flee the country, there isn't a whole lot of places they can go. I bet they'd still be caught and held accountable. They'd at least be detained within a year. There's too many countries that have filed suit against Dick Cheney, George Bush, and most of the ruling class for all kinds of crimes that they have committed, you know. You guys know about the 2 SAS soldiers? The British SAS is like the baddest special forces on planet Earth. And there were 2 of their guys that were caught in another country and held captive. And Britain went in there with tanks and killed and raided their police station and got their boys back. You know, that's illegal. And if the United States wasn't so greatly on the side of wrong, we could have stopped England from doing that. But we're so wrong. We are absolutely in so many sides of wrong continuously. We've got no say whatsoever to tell anybody anything. You know, we are not a global force for good. We're not a global force for anything. We shouldn't be. So, all right, got a few more minutes here, and then we're going to go to a break, let you guys go grab a drink and things, and next show that comes on is Getting Down and Nerdy with Tyler. I don't know if you guys know this, but, you know, Tyler likes to talk, you know, PlayStation and things like that, and he likes to help folks out. You know, he's covered in tattoos. He's this huge guy, big old burly beard. I know he doesn't sound like it. He sounds like a little white guy that is probably like, you know, tearing an Xbox up or a PlayStation somewhere. He's like 6'5", big burly dude, covered in tattoos. I think he owns he's probably got like 8 Harleys, you know, all of them custom. So when he does the show, he's just kind of doing it for fun. He doesn't even have to do it. He's just helping you guys out. You know, he could be on a Harley ride, you know, or at the clubhouse. Big burly dude, covered in tattoos, man. And they say scary things. I know, it's deceiving when you hear him. You wouldn't think it. Right Side Media Network believes in employing bikers and revolutionary hippies such as myself. I'll give myself another label before the end of the show. Don't worry about it. Right Side Media Network has supported us, and they're going to continue to support us even more so in the Unite Ohio endeavor with the superintendent. I want to say thanks for that, guys, personally. And if you guys get the chance, we have the Nightmare show tonight after me. Okay, so you lucked out. You don't have to deal with the biker tonight. You have the Nightmares show. And because I'm new to the station, I am not very familiar with that. So I'll be able to set the shows up a little better down the line. But right now, maybe I can rely on you guys to tell me what's going on. Here's a phone number for you guys to call if you're looking for some gifts, some stocking stuffers, and don't mind supporting local business. It's 440-986-7277. And that's the number for Sassy Chicks New and Rustic Trading Post. Get your butts in there if you can. 440-986-7277. If you actually walk in the door and tell them that we sent you, they'll give you something for free. And then I want you to call back to the show or get on the chat with us and tell me what it was, because my curiosity is killing me. Okay, so the Nightmare show is after Down and Nerdy, so you will be able to see or talk to the biker tonight. Big burly guy. And the Nightmares show is for Lorain County's semi-professional football team. Foosball. So I'm digging that. All right, guys. Got about a couple minutes here on a break, and then I will see you on the other side. Diametric Opposition Show. Thanks.